always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Yes, it is. Glad to have you on board as we kick off another big hour here of the program. Thank you for being here. What a short, wonderful week it has been so far. Fighting for you for the foxhole of freedom every single day, telling you the truth so you are the most prepared person when you go out there into the world to discuss whatever you need to discuss. Who do you want in your foxhole? It's an important question. Three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, another day, another federal court has become the champion of illegal aliens and criminals. They really seem like they like violent gangs like Tren De Aragua. They want them here, apparently. Number two, our friends over at Newsmax have filed a massive lawsuit against our friends over at Fox News. This should be fun to watch as they do battle over antitrust issues. We'll see how that plays out. And number three, the problem with the left-wing media is they're left-wing. And pretend to be journalists. Man, I have this, even Esquire Bob and I have this conversation fairly often. What I mean by that? Well, look, I worked for NBC News. I worked for local affiliates. I worked for NBC O&O, WCMH, NBC4, Columbus, Ohio, as the investigative reporter for, 4 years, a while back, right? And so I was in the working guts of these newsrooms. And I can tell back then, 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more now, these newsrooms were veering left. The people that were there were whoosh. You know, it was interesting because you would have people in the newsroom that would pontificate and bloviate about what it's like to run a business, what business needs to do, and what parents need to do. And these are people that had never owned a business and never been a parent, but they were experts on everything. They had gone to college, you see, and therefore they were smart young people. They knew. They had insight. The truth is they didn't know anything about anything, but they would run their mouths about anything all the time. They would run their mouths about anything all the time, even though they knew nothing about anything. And that was a problem. The newsrooms were filled with know-it-alls that had never done anything of importance. They would just bump their gums and be experts, they see. You've seen it your whole life, by the way. These journalists, these left-wing journalists, and everything you thought about the media is by and large true. But it's a lot worse than you ever thought. The institution of the media is a complete disgrace for the most part. They sit on one side of the political aisle. One side, but for the most part, 9 out of 10 sit on one side of the political aisle, and I don't know why that is. Maybe they just want to be antagonists. Maybe they think attacking America makes them relevant or something. Maybe attacking America and putting down people that are from Michigan and back roads and Montana and Maine, somehow that they're more elite. Their feet have been on concrete more, and therefore they know more. Let me give you an example of one of the most egregious violators. Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd was on NBC News for years. The host of Meet the Press, right? Was that the show, Meet the Press? Whatever, which one. I think it was Meet the Press. And here's proof that Chuck Todd was never a journalist. Ever. He was, always, and still is an activist hack. I'm sorry, Chuck. You're a fraud. Although we saw right through, we knew pretty well for a long time that Chuck Todd was a fraud and a hack. But here's some evidence. Listen.
These health rumors, he only has himself to blame. And the entire Trump world only has themselves to blame for this. They live in this world of conspiracy and misinformation. They manufactured all sorts of garbage, whether it's about Hillary Clinton's health in 2016, Joe Biden's health in 2020 or 2024. My goodness. So guess what? Good for the goose, good for the gander. Bottom line is he's clearly got some health issues. We know this administration is not forthcoming pretty much about anything. Times 10 when it comes to Trump's personal health. I do think this has the ability to become the next Epstein frenzy. There's been a few things where suddenly they take off and he can't seem to control his MAGA troops. The Epstein files were one of them, and his health may be another one.
Nobody cares about the Epstein stuff anymore. 34,000 files released. Chuck Todd pretending to be a journalist. Hillary's health was an issue. Remember when they had to drag her to the van because she stumbled and passed out? We know why now. She was on drugs. Heavy drugs, we've been told that. And he's actually defending the health of Joe Biden? Good God, Chuck. You're an embarrassment to yourself when you go that far down the rabbit hole. Of course, everybody knows now that Joe Biden couldn't even sign executive orders. No, the auto pen did that. And Chuck further proves just how much in the tank he is for the left. Says crime enforcement in big cities is only about deportations. It's not about saving lives. Not about that. It's about deporting people. Listen.
I do think that the traditional press is incorrectly been explaining what's been happening here. This is all about ICE. There's nothing else involved here. And I think that needs to be the focal point, and people need to understand it. Doesn't make it less popular, I think, with some, or less unpopular, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I've always said, I don't think this stuff's unpopular. I don't think it's super popular either, right?
Yeah. Let me tell you about it. The number is still the same. 3 homicides in Washington, D.C. since the 11th of August. 3. Including a 12-day homicide-free streak in the middle there. Right? One on August 11th, one on August 13th, and one on August 26th. Now, if you don't count the day that it started, that's more than 3 weeks now, by the way. I think that's 23 days. 3 homicides in 23 days in Washington, D.C. It is about saving lives, you morons. Of course, he's there with Chris Cillizza, another left-wing hack who pretends to be a journalist. And then you have to ask yourself, share this one last thing. The narco-terrorists that were blown up in the boat, which, by the way, Marco Rubio says it's a lot better to blow them up than to try to take them into custody, because if you blow them up, others notice. If you're running fentanyl across the open ocean in a boat with 4 outboards across the back and 1,600 horsepower, and you get vaporized, yeah, that's a real attention getter, because that's been all over the internet. But reporters seem to care more about the killing of narco-terrorists than the killing of American citizens by the drugs that they are transporting. Oh, my God, listen.
On the Venezuela vessel strike, what legal authority were you guys working under, and will there be an after report on the strike?
Well, I'm sure there's going to be an after report. I mean, the legal authority, and I want to talk about these kids, is that there are people who are bringing literal terrorists who are bringing deadly drugs into our country, and the President of the United States ran on a promise of stopping this poison from coming into our country. Another question?
Yeah. Any other questions? We're getting rid of drug dealers. This part of the program brought to you by PuroClean's Veterans Initiative. PuroVet. Veterans find purpose in property restoration and owning their own company. We salute those who served. It's part of PuroClean. You can find out more at purovet.com, purovet.com, or call 855-PuroVet. If you're a veteran or know somebody who is, this is your chance to get to the front of the line. Own your own company. Clean up the neighborhood. So what we're trying to do here every day is clean up the neighborhood. All right. I've got Grover Norquist straight ahead on the Steve Gruber Show.